Hi, Steen. How are you today?
Good.
Hello,
Good evening. How you doing?
Steen. Are you there?
Yes, I'm fine. And yourself? Sorry. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. What was your question? I was trying to read your email. I'm trying to figure out what your question was.
Yes, sorry. I could have waited. I regarding the assignment. I saw where ICA said that they require you to use footnotes.
Mm-hmm.
But what wasn't clear is whether the bibliography was optional or not.
Okay. Well, if you're going to use the footnotes, then yes, the bibliography should cite the
Also
full
be required.
source. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. And I don't know if what's your first name is Bullet?
Why you need to know my full first name, Steen?
But that's because that's normal.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, if you don't give it to me, that's fine. But I just was wondering if you ever did and I missed it.
No, I normally don't give it
Want
out
to?
to the
Okay.
students.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. No
Okay.
problem.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Bullitt. I have a question.
Hi. Good
Hi.
evening.
Good evening. I was looking at the date for the final exam.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And this date, if I'm not mistaken, let me see, make sure that I'm in the right, talking in the right class now. This day is a Tuesday, the 19th is a Tuesday. Is that correct?
The Tuesday, April 19th.
Yes, ma'am. I'll clear it up
Okay,
before I go move on to the second question.
Okay, I'll have to confirm that with the office
Okay.
because they may probably have many exams on the 20th. That's probably why they did it on the Tuesday. So I'll confirm, and they still have to do the social distancing.
Oh, okay, no problem. Okay, well, the next question, Ms. Bullitt, I will just send you email.
Oh, okay. So I'll
Okay.
confirm and let y'all know next week when I
Thank
send the
you.
review sheet.
The review sheet, okay.
Yeah, because this is our third week. This is
That's
our
right.
third week. So
Mhm.
next week will be week 4, which will end our chapters. And then the 5th week will just be review.
Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay. I have the second question. I'll just send you the email. Thank you.
Okay.
But can I say respond this? I was looking at the sheet that Ms. Bullitt gave us. I see final exam
Mhm.
Wednesday, April 20th.
Right. And that's why I said I'll confirm with the office because normally it's the week after review. However, like I said, because of social distancing, they may, have said we have too many exams on that Wednesday night.
So they
We'll
might
be
change, yeah.
Tuesday, right? So that's why I said I'll confirm with the office and I'll let y'all know next week.
Okay. Miss
Okay.
Campbell, I think, Stan Campbell. So what I'm looking at is I normally look at the sheet and the book. The book is saying the 19th, but I do see now that the sheet is saying the 20th. So I like to put these things in my calendar. I'm not that type of person.
Okay, I now see it. I was wondering where you saw
Right.
that, but I saw that. I see what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am. So I could just wait till Miss Bullitt get back to us and I will pencil that into my calendar.
Right, of course.
Okay.
And yeah. Okay.
Okay. So good afternoon, all. I trust that you all are having a productive week and we had the opportunity to read chapters 4 and 5. I was trying to read somebody's comments from the chat, but if anybody has newspaper clippings they want to share or they want to get their 5%, in fact, there's 1 week left. And let me see if this is the right class. Let me see. 1 week left. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 persons. So sorry?
I thought it's 2 weeks left.
Yeah, but 1 week of class, so we won't entertain your 5% in the review class.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we won't do that. So because we normally have 10 persons in the review class trying to get their 5%. So we won't do that this time. So next week is the last week for you to get that 5%, or you would have just missed it. So we have 4 persons who have their 5% so far. out of, let's see how many persons are here, 15. So that's 11 persons, and we're not gonna.
It's gonna do us to 4.
Let me see, who are the 4 persons? 1 second.
I ain't gonna stay at home.
Hmm? You sure you sound a little weird?
Speak.
It's only been 10 seconds and I thought that was just phone ringing, so just saying.
Oh, God. Anyway, Tristan, I just calling so you could invite me to your Toastmasters on Saturday. Of course, I have to go and I have to
I don't
present.
need to invite you. You still have the link in your Zoom thing.
What's the thing?
Zoom must have a history, you know, just go inside the last meeting.
Man, Tristan, invite me. Why you want to put you all at work Saturday morning? What time it start?
9 o'clock.
Okay, I available. I have a doctor's appointment on Saturday.
Okay.
Also, you all don't change the information.
No, the same Zoom link. Don't rotate or no.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so I'll be there. Thank you, Tristan.
I mean, I know, when the kind of woman you are, you deserve a invitation, but it'd be the same.
Yeah, I'll go I deserve an invitation. That's how I feel. But
But you deserve an invitation. Well, what? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
okay.
Oh, you was on your phone, Margaret. I thought you was talking to somebody in the class,
I was on my phone. I thought I was on mute.
Sorry,
I
you
was
don't
trying
have me interrupting your conversation. Not to
no, I was supposed to go to this Toastmasters class on Saturday, but come to find out it's this Saturday. I didn't know that.
Okay. You're like looking for the file right now with your names. I tell you.
Ms. Bullard,
Look at these names, yes.
are we supposed to let you know that we attended one of the Kiwanis or Toastmasters meetings or something?
Yes, and you're supposed to come and share it with the class.
Okay.
I mean, how else do we know? How else would we know to give you your 5%?
I concur. However, we've just been having so much other conversations that we never got around to those type of conversations.
No, but every week before we start, I ask, have you attended Kiwanis and can get your 5%, or can you get your 5%, or did you read the newspaper? Every week, that's how we start the class. Sorry?
I said I could tell you to run me my 5% now for attending Kiwanis.
Yeah, let me write down your name because my Excel thing opening, but I get like 4 different classes and I looking at these names.
I'll wait.
No, go ahead. You can talk whilst I'm trying to answer somebody in the text. And I'm trying to look at this. So go ahead, share with us, and I'll put your name on the list.
Well, of course, I am actually a part of a Kiwanis club. So I attend my meetings every month, every week, I should say, except 1 week where we don't have what they call family night. Our last meeting, we actually did inductions. So there you go. We selected a new board for our upcoming fiscal year.
Okay, and what's the topic of the discussion?
No, I was saying that they had inductions, so it wasn't really much of a conversation that they were having. They were nominating persons.
This is a group that you are part of already?
Yeah.
Okay, so we want you to attend something. The purpose is to network,
So,
right?
okay.
So we want you to attend a meeting where you can introduce yourself, get to know some new persons, and then come back and share what the topic of discussion was of the night, or, what fundraiser or whatever it is that Kiwanis does.
I
Okay,
can tell you what Kiwanis does.
fine. I want you to attend the meeting. I want you to attend the meeting. I want you to the whole purpose is to network.
Well, that's like I said, I'm already a part of it. So we do like interclubs. So we are like, that's almost
Yeah, but last night you can't share anything with us. We did induction. No, we want to
No,
hear
no,
about,
not that one. So I'll let you know
Right.
what is happening in the next one, and then I'll talk.
correct. And then also,
meeting.
did anybody, I guess the digital thing, the Securities Commission is tomorrow. Is anybody signing up to attend that or no?
They have that 10 o'clock in the
I
in the
already
morning.
signed up.
I
I already
registered
signed up
as
for chat.
well.
I will
Who's
be.
not having a meeting,
Mark as
Securities Commission?
I
If you're in the group, they send the flyer for it inside the group.
yeah, I
Okay.
sent you the group.
Okay, so did anybody else attend the meeting and that they're not a part of and they want to share with us?
Good evening, everyone. Ms.
Good
Bullock,
evening.
this is Anita. I actually attended the Rotary Club of Nassau meeting on yesterday actually. And their topic was on developmental milestones in children. And the presenter was Dr. Deshawn Saunders from the Agape Child and Adolescent Clinic. And basically what her presentation was based on the developmental stages in children and what parents should actually look out for in terms of kids who may have ADD and, you know, kids who probably have learning disorders or even growth disorders. And they were talking about autism. And, you know, here in the Bahamas, how a lot of parents kind of embarrassed to come to grips if their child has autism. And I guess in this modern age, not to be ashamed of it and what to look out for. And what else she discussed? Signs of ADHD that, you know, parents should look out for. And she also highlighted how kids are affected by COVID and what parents should also look out for in terms of a child who may close up because of COVID. She was just giving a lot of different scenarios in terms of stress during the COVID period in children. And, you know, they're not exempted from it. And language barriers with children in terms of speech disorders. Those were the type of things that they were discussing. And that was actually my second meeting. I went to a meeting, I think about 3 weeks ago, because Owen had invited me and I introduced myself then. Yesterday's meeting, I got in a bit late because of my my task at work. So I was unable to introduce myself to the second meeting, but the first meeting I had introduced myself.
Okay, very good, Anita. Thank you for sharing. Okay, and somebody had just asked me in the chat while she was speaking if it had to be compliance related. No, because I mean, you would never have control over what the meetings are about. So whatever, you know, they talk about is, and we want to be a well-rounded group. We only, you know, we're learning compliance, but you need to be, you know, well-rounded and get information from all aspects of life. So it does not have to be only focused on compliance. Okay. Okay, Stan, thank you as well. I see you put you said the bullet if yes, she don't come up, you have my name. Yes, I have that recorded. Is there anybody else? And Julian said that he has invited everybody to their Kiwanis meeting on. He said Thursday, well, the 25th is gone. So I guess is it? He can't speak right now, but I think it's every Thursday. He said he put it in the group. Did you all receive that in his group, in the WhatsApp group?
Yes, I saw his invite, but I was unable to go to that because I had to attend another meeting.
So one for last
so
week, I think he forgot to send the link with the password or whatever. We didn't get it in time.
okay, so who is this? Leosha Raming is asking what WhatsApp group. Leosha, there's a WhatsApp group established for the class where persons primarily join if they know they want to go all the way to the journey of ICA, and it's supposed to give support and information to study group, whatever you need for the class. Okay. Okay, so next week, for those who are interested in their 5% will be the last week you have to discuss, and we're going to take the first 5 persons. Okay, everybody else, that's it. We have 17 persons now, and like I said, there is 4 persons on my list. As soon as I find it, I'll let you know. But
Are you
if
going to
you
tell
want
us the
to-
four?
Sorry?
Are you going to tell us who the 4 persons are?
Y'all don't know who have their, y'all don't know who already been to Toastmasters and Rotary?
Yeah,
You-
but weren't you referring to
been?
the person that would have? Yeah, but weren't you referring to the persons that would have said something or participated in the class? I thought that's what you meant.
Right, so you would know if you participated already.
I did, but
Right, so your name will be on the list.
I think what she's
Okay.
getting at is there were more than 4 persons that would have discussed.
But
Yeah,
I
a couple
don't
of people
know.
contributed.
Only 4
Oh.
persons.
Okay,
So
so
that's why they
give
wanted
me
to
your
know.
name if you contributed, and I will make sure that you are on the list. Because I don't
Donica
have it.
Major.
Yeah, okay, Doniqua. Who else?
Dominic Roberts.
Dominic, you just contributed just now, and you have to go to another meeting because you didn't really share
No.
anything with us.
I'm not talking about that. I talked about some of the dirty money thing that we were
No, we're
watching.
not talking, no, we're specifically not the 5% for reading the newspaper or watching the movie or what have you. It's the 5% to attend your civic organization,
The organizer. Okay. Okay.
like Rotary or Kiwanis or Toastmasters.
I thought the 5% you were discussing originally was, there's 2 different 5%. One
Yeah.
is the networking with the clubs, and one is
Mhm.
watching the movie and discussing and all that other stuff, right?
Right. So
You talking about
Doniqua
participation, yeah.
was
Participation.
talking about the civic organization, correct? Doniqua, that's the list that I'm referring to. Doniqua? I just
No,
wanna make sure
ma'am.
that
No, ma'am. I was referring to the participation in the class, not the civic. I'm a member of Kiwanis Club of Nassau, so I already attend meetings every Thursday. I was talking about for participation in the class.
have you shared with the class?
I participated, yes, ma'am. Last class, and I read at one point as well.
No. Okay,
So
I
what are
want
you
us to be on
referring?
the same page.
Okay,
There's 5% for participation in the class. And
Correct.
then there's 5%
For networking.
and Kiwanis, Rotary, right, for networking. We are referring to the 5% for networking. And I said,
Okay.
you said, am I going to let you know who has the 5% for networking? And then you said, you do. And I said, when I pull up the list, there are 4 persons on my list. Are you one of them? And you said, yes, but now you're telling me, no, you're not one of them.
because I thought you were
So for
referring
the
to the
civic
5% for
organization only.
participation.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, no, I'm referring to the
All right.
5% for civic organization only. Did you attend
Okay.
and discuss with the class? Yes or no?
I did not discuss. No, I did not
Okay,
discuss.
oh, so no, your name would not be on that list. Okay, is there anybody else
Okay.
who attended and shared with the class?
No, but I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I missed the first class because I was waiting on work to sort out the whole class thing. So I know last class you mentioned a welcome something, a welcome email that you had sent.
Yes,
I didn't receive it.
okay, I'll send it to you. Did you listen
Okay,
to the
thank you so
video,
much.
the recording from the first class?
I did. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so you just need the welcome message.
Yes, ma'am. And I didn't really understand how the questions were working, because I watched it and I noticed that you had a whole layout of which percentage you would get for what exactly. And then you had assignments on the top. So do you have to answer one question for the 20%, I think it was?
Yeah, if you listen to the recording,
I did. It seems like I may need to listen to that again. I did.
yeah,
though.
because we explain in detail. So yeah, 20%, you have to answer one of the 4 questions and submit that for a grade.
Before the due date.
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Julian, when I guess next week, when you could speak, you could share this with the class, because I think you sent this direct message to me. I know you can't answer me back, so that's fine. Okay, Shante, put your email in the group chat, please, and I'll forward the welcome message to you.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, great. Okay, is there anybody else that wants to share on their civic organization? No? Okay, so I have one person in the chat who sent to me, because we're only gonna take 5 persons next week. Is there anybody else? I'm taking the names from the chat. Can you put in the chat that you want to present next week? And I'll add your name to the list. Okay. Okay, so I have 2 persons so far. I have 3 spaces left. Okay.
I will present next week too, but I
Okay.
don't know what happened. I can't put it in the chat. I don't know what happened to my chat.
Okay.
I'll
So, okay,
present
that's
next
that's
week
the
as well.
5 persons. Yeah, Shante, I have your name.
So, and that's Margaret. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
and I have Margaret. Yeah.
Good
so that's-
afternoon, everybody. Sorry, I just got off. So could somebody catch me up, please?
It's recorded, Shirley. So we only talked about the 5% for the civic organization so far. And yeah, that's about it. And I was answering questions from the chat. I think Julian said that he invited everybody to Kiwanis in the WhatsApp group, and some other persons want to be added to the WhatsApp group. Yes, Raming, you are in the 5. So Leosha, Renita, I can't pronounce your name, Shaunek, yeah, Margaret, and Dominique would present next week for their 5%.
So,
Okay.
Thank
Gator,
you.
yeah, so that's all be discussed. We didn't get into the lectures yet. Do you have your 5% already for your civic organization, Gator? I think you do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay.
But I also have something to talk about today when I read the newspaper.
Okay, great.
So that's why I thought I had missed that portion.
No, we're still on that. We were trying to catch up everybody on their 5%. Okay, so Andrea, we'll get right back to you, Gator. Andrea? No, Andrea, Joseph, you have your hand raised, or you have a question or no? No, okay. Okay, Gator, go ahead.
Okay, so today, well, I can't remember who it was who dropped it in the chat, but I had glimpsed across it yesterday in my reading, but today I printed it out. It was basically investor fraud concerns on the 60 million Cat Island resort. And I found it very interesting because I had just spoke to someone about how the Bahamas is like literally in the middle of where things happen. It's like they pass us to go to every other place, and that's where transactions and all type of darkness happens. So it's like all these islands that are inhabited, all these keys that are like just there. A lot of things are happening that's going on right under our noses until these things are presented in the States. If it wasn't brought up in the States, we would have never known about what's going on in Cat Island at the resort. So I just found it very weird that the Almost Paradise Development, that's what it's called, and officials examined it after concerns were raised. So it's like, why they had to wait until concerns were raised if they know that this $1 million project was going on Cat Island. Although they were trying to do it for good cause, for employment, and so forth, so on, but when you look at it, with everything that's going on now, you have to be very careful with these like $1 million projects, because you don't know if this money is clean or dirty. So you can't just dump this money into a project and unless you follow up with your KYC and so forth, and due diligence and so forth. So that's just what I want to talk about. Just like a Ponzi scheme, typical.
Okay, so
But then
I am
remember
confused a
that's
bit.
where.
Sorry, go ahead. Who was speaking? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's where compliance comes in as well. So it looks good on paper, and then audit and all those other things factor in, because it may look legit. So when it was presented, it may have been, just an awesome opportunity for employment, like you say, just for the island as a whole. And then when it was time to audit or it became a compliance issue, then an investigation was launched.
Good
So
day,
I
everybody.
feel you have to also, when they did the initial check on the investors, it may have shown up as the risk ratings may have been low and all of that stuff. But then that's why you have to constantly check these things, because it could change in a matter of days from a low risk to a high risk person.
It's interesting that Gator spoke about that and mentioned the US, because I was watching the news earlier this week, and they were saying how the US government has launched investigations into fraudulent activity done during the time of the pandemic, when they were giving out all of that monies for small business owners. And they were saying that how most of the persons were investing in large businesses. So maybe that could be a part of the whole thing Gator is talking about. And it also showed that the company, which was given approval for the applications, they had to have had some defaults inside their compliance compartment, because they were approving loans in like 5 minutes, and people were getting like 500, some people up to $1 million approved in 5 minutes. And that just shows that they didn't have like an effective compliance system in place.
Okay, very good.
And even too, during the pandemic was like that weak spot for persons to quickly invest because they know it's the pandemic. Ain't nobody really watching nothing. Ain't nobody really checking for them because it's the pandemic. Everybody concerned with their safety and their health. They're not worrying about who put money this way, who put money that way, and so forth. So persons use the pandemic as an excuse to launder money, whether it be real estate, hedge funds and investment funds and so forth and so on. So that's why it's kind of baffling that it took the US to bring up this situation, because we would have never known. It's surprising.
The Prime
so many
Minister,
things going on that we don't know about unless it's brought up by the US.
See, the Prime Minister is from Cat Island, okay? And so he's going to support anybody that wants to invest in Cat Island.
Correct.
That's the first thing. And second of all, he is also the person who said that what's the guy's name? Who did Adrian Fox? He wrote the letter of recommendation for him. So he was not concerned that human trafficking is at an all high, and that the person who was involved in that case went to jail for 10 years. He still wrote he was the opposition leader at the time. And so that just shows you that he does not look at these crimes. You know, I mean, I guess it was a wash because he's a philanthropist. Did we speak about that in this class?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So he wrote a letter of recommendation to the U.S. Supreme Court, who had said Adrian Fox was a fugitive, and subsequently Adrian got $5,000 fine. And then he became prime minister, and they did question him and said, "Do you regret writing that letter?" He said, "No, I'd write it again." Not only did he write it, another minister of the gospel in the Anglican Church wrote a letter as well.
Do you think it's because that Mr. Fox
Let's
is
pop on my priest on pop on my church on blast.
I sorry. I didn't call the name. You'll have to read the newspaper to see who did it.
But Ms. Bullard, do you think it's because their campaign is being funded by Mr. Fox?
I can't say that. I can't say that. I can't say who funded what, but I'm just saying. When
because that is not public information.
Human trafficking.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that could be one of the reasons why they may be so willing to stand for them.
Yeah, he said that he had represented Adrian when he was a lawyer, and he has been a long-standing client of him for many years, so he could vouch for him. That's what he said.
I was just going to say that because sometimes you have persons that you've worked for a long time. So when they bring something to you, it doesn't seem fraudulent at all. You wouldn't even question it. So he may have been in good standing.
Okay, Julian is in the text. He is saying he can't speak, but he's texting. He said, "I think she has some of her information wrong." Who are you referring to, Julian? If you could put it in the text, I'll read it. Yeah. So again, it's Cat Island, and again, the lens that we are looking at money laundering, knowing that the Bahamas is a transit country. A lot of the Haitians, Jamaicans, Cubans, they come through the Bahamas to venture onto America. Of course, some of them try to even get here in order to get to America. And we've had that problem for many years, and many persons have lost their lives trying to do that. Knowing what I know about human trafficking and how there's a blind eye, there's an awareness. I mean, I would never write a recommendation because it's been happening for too long.
So is it that we don't take it serious? I mean, I try to understand, is that what, but we don't take it seriously? Our governments, heads of governments don't take human traffic seriously? Is that, I mean, I try to.
I don't believe they don't call it human trafficking, you know, they call it immigration. They it's more on the immigration, right? But if somebody pay you $5,000 to come to Bahamas, is that not human trafficking?
Yes.
If most of them don't make it, you know, most of them they take them right off and make them jump overboard and they kill them.
Bullet, you believe that?
Listen to me, Miss Bullet picked a lot of them up. I know that for sure.
Miss Bullet, they a lot of times they drop them to one of the keys and tell them they reach.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Yes.
Okay.
Most, you know, I don't think that killing them is as strongly prevalent as it probably used to be back in the day. They just carry
Renita, I'm also a licensed mortician. Never find a boat, never find a captain, but 8, 9 dead people in the water, drowned, or in the back of the Defense Force base. That's murder. Okay, and these people have weave in their hair. We have to do DNA on them. They have weave in their hair. They have money in their pocket. They fix this. You know what I mean? People are struggling. One girl was in COB.
What?
Okay, a lady was working. Okay, so that's trafficking.
So I have a question. So we, see, I get confused. So what, are you saying that we consider human trafficking is only when we take people against their will?
Yes.
I mean, this country, that's how we look
I
at
just
it.
saying it seems that way,
Okay.
you know, it seems that way.
But can I say something though? I mean, the term human trafficking is in the Proceeds of Crime Act 2018 and the Financial Transaction Reporting Act.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a predicate crime, and I'm sure I've not read them in detail, but I'm sure there's also a definition of human trafficking. So I think that point.
Yeah, but Adrian Fox was he was charged with human trafficking. What
you were saying?
He wasn't trying to kill those persons. I think he was trying to get them to America, correct?
No, maybe when I think someone had said that we don't call it human trafficking, but it's in the law. So
no, Margaret was asking if that's what we consider it.
I see.
Right, because Ms. Bullitt is saying it falls more under immigration here. So that's why I'm asking, do we not consider to be human trafficking in this country?
It's in the law.
That's
if you were arrested, if you were caught and arrested, that's what you would be charged with.
In this country?
In this country, yeah.
Okay, but are you treated like it's human trafficking?
No, but see, the thing about it, in America, okay, and around the world, they kidnapping people for like body parts and stuff like that. We transporting them to, you know what I mean?
Sexual slavery.
Yeah, right. They just, like somebody say, proximity to the US, we just a transit country to get to the US, or if they could get here.
Giving them a ride.
Really.
Because they define it as the business of stealing freedom for profit. So that's what she's saying is correct. Then promising them a better way of life.
But let me tell you how big it is. And I could be in America, there are it's either 80,000 or 180,000 Black women that are missing.
What?
And they attribute it to human trafficking to, again, sell their body parts, or they believe the majority of them are dead. There was also in the UK, they found a trailer, 45-foot trailer with dead bodies on it, Chinese dead bodies. Now, at first they reported that their organs were missing, and then they came back and said the organs wasn't missing. Okay, so that's how big it is. And like I say, when these things happen in America, eventually they happen in Bahamas. So they could get to the point where they possibly say, let's not just make them jump overboard any longer. Let's not just take them out in the back of 15 bay and make them jump. We could sell their heart and we could sell their organ, and, you know, because it's a big business. In fact, in China, they have a kidney farm. Okay, so you never know. Okay, but Julian, I really wish you could talk, because I'm still confused where you're saying you was intimately involved in a case. I don't know which case you was intimately, and I would suggest that she read the US ruling on the matter. Who is she? Who are you referring to? Yeah, and of course we are speaking from limited information. We read this in the newspaper. We didn't read the case. We didn't go on the whatever, you know, the supremecourt.com and read the actual case. No, this is from a newspaper report. So we won't, and like again, I say, when you read the newspaper, it depends on who writes it, especially if you read a US newspaper. Okay, so it really depends. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Bullitt, for allowing me. I walked out of an operation center just to speak to you. When I said the recent commentator who brought the case to our attention in the class, right?
Which one? Which case?
The case of Adrian Fox.
Oh, I did. I brought that.
Oh, okay. Well, but there was somebody else that commented on it with regards to the Prime Minister.
What I said is that the Prime Minister wrote a letter of recommendation what else did I say? The US had advised that he was a fugitive. The person that was along with him spent 10 years in jail.
Right.
Right. So what was wrong with that? That's the information that we provided. What was incorrect about that?
No, I'm saying, was it the intent to convey, or was it the intent to just declare the facts that the newspaper was speaking about, or was it the intent to say that the prime minister may have inadvertently caused the country to be looked at as a country that did not take human trafficking seriously?
What do you think, Julian? You investigate the case. What if you were an international regulator that came to the Bahamas and said, Bahamians are law-abiding citizens because nobody has been charged with money laundering, nobody has been charged with these various crimes, nobody had been charged because it was not on our books until 2018. Right after that, the Attorney General immediately said 80-something persons have been charged. What would you think if you was an international regulator and you felt like you had to come here and help us? You can't think from your perspective now. We're talking about the people who will risk rate us. What would they think?
No, but the risk raters are quite aware and are in possession of more than enough evidence that we are, as a jurisdiction, in regards to both human trafficking and money laundering.
No, I'm not talking about what's on paper. I'm saying, what would you think? Because everything that you write on paper, we put in our laws.
You were saying, what would the risk regulators
think? What would they think?
Yeah, and I'm saying to you, for the last 20 years, the risk regulators, along with individuals or international organizations and agencies that monitor both human trafficking and human smuggling, are quite aware and are in possession of more than enough evidence, 20 years of evidence, to show where agencies in the Bahamas were working along with them. However, based upon our legislation, we could not disclose publicly how we were working along with them and providing that evidence based upon the individuals and companies whom they were looking at because of our legislation.
Julian, I hear you.
Yes.
I'm a Bahamian. I am a Bahamian, and I live here my whole life. Right?
Yeah. So
and I teach compliance, and I think it's a joke.
Yeah. So the legislation back then was a joke. Now what I'm saying though is, based upon that legislative framework in the past, you as an individual who may have been involved in a case as a citizen, and the case bore out the facts that you may have been an individual who was entrapped by either one of these international agencies or agents of a foreign power, right? That agency then was how should I put it? Was then sanctioned by the court to a certain degree, or sanctioned in a court hearing to say you took an action against a citizen of another state where you had no jurisdiction to take that action. And therefore, this is why we are limiting the fines regarding that particular citizen. And that is what happened in the Adrian Fox matter.
Julian, this is my point. Okay, I hear you what happened, right? But my question is, do you think internationally, the prime minister writing a letter or the opposition leader writing a letter on any person who was involved in human smuggling shines a negative or positive light on the country? That's what my question is. I hear what you say and all the technicalities and what you all do, and what is your opinion?
My opinion is this: I take every case as the merit of the case. I don't put all in.
No, but my question is,
I don't put all cases in one basket. So
no, but that's what I'm saying. I'm asking your opinion. Would it shine a negative or positive light on the country?
It depends upon the case.
So, okay.
You see, one prime minister writes favorably, and one prime minister writes unfavorably.
Okay.
It's the same case.
Okay, but I just think when we're in a we've been compliance has been around from 2000, right? And we, of course, you said the law. You agree that the laws were foolishness, right? Because of course we
Yes,
use the staggered approach, so we
back
don't
then.
wipe out our financial services sector,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Now
But you
that we are
remember-
over that staggered approach, most of the sector has already been lost and diminished. We now have sound laws in place from 2018. It's now 2022.
Yeah.
And persons are getting letters. I mean, I wouldn't take that country seriously. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but do you recall what it cost one particular prime minister just to bring about the necessary laws as of today?
Yeah, but
in
he
his
had no
political
choice.
capital?
But if what it costs you when you don't have no choices, what it's going to cost the next person, because he had no choice. It would have cost him another blacklisting. As you see, when the PLP came in power, we were downgraded the next day.
Yeah,
right?
This is the
next
thing,
day.
though. When
The
we look
next
at
day.
and that's why I'm saying I tend to judge every case on its merit to a degree of the facts in the case.
No, but we
what's
read the
going on.
newspaper. We see you have inside information. We don't. We read the newspaper, and I gave you the facts that nothing that I said was incorrect. He was charged with human trafficking. The U.S. did send a message that was in the paper that said he's a fugitive. A letter of recommendation was written on his behalf. We are in an era where on our books, we don't have many persons charged from 2000 to now. We have 83 persons because our laws were not in place till 2018. Okay, so that's my whole point.
Yeah, I'm going to
It does not shed a positive light that after all y'all get these slaps on the wrist for the last 21 years, when we know the laws was a joke, that now the laws are in place and y'all still finding a workaround. That's my point.
Yeah, I'm going to present another perspective on that same view. You have a country, and you have a number of countries with respect to the OECD, and also when we deal with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Controlled Drug Shipments and so forth, right? They wrote a number of laws and policies. However, one of the same countries enforcing the treaties and extradition laws with respects to Bahamians, right, is obviously allowing a number of its states to sell marijuana, but they also provide funding to countries like us, Colombia and Jamaica, in the excess of some $20 billion a year, so that we can send our citizens on an extradition warrant to them when they sell the same product legally in their states. So when we talk about laws and how things look prospectively, I mean, it's like,
But Julian, I sure I don't know, it's probably my next class. We're talking about Putin and the war and sanctions and what have you. They are, like I said, we were deficient in 22 recommendations. So was the rest of the world, not only us. So was Switzerland and Germany and all these people that sit on the board. And that's why
the United States.
But we are not the US, and that's just it. We don't have the US is the most powerful nation in the world. We don't have that. And so we will get slammed when we don't put these laws in place. We will get blacklisted. The US is non-reciprocal for taxes. So is Cayman. That's protected by the Brits. But we are not them. And just because they are allowed to do it, just they are all powerful. We are not.
I just don't want the citizens of our country and it to be conveyed in a sense, or the students or candidates of the course to get an opinion that just because they are the regional hegemon, and that is the fact, that we don't have avenues of recourse and that we should just sit back and take it when they do it.
Shouldn't. Listen, I say when you read a piece of paper or you read the newspaper article or you listen to the TV, know who is speaking. The Democrats, CNN supports, the media is controlled. Okay, I always say that. Like I said in my next class, we're talking about Putin and the war and who is right, who we think is wrong, and why are these things allowed to happen, and how some countries are using the war to manipulate and blame it on the war. So it's
agreed.
all about awareness. But
Thank
even
you, Ms.
after
Bullock.
the awareness, Julian, you still have to know your place and how much money you have and who you're fighting against. I mean, this what you call it? Who was this in the Bible? David and Goliath type of situation that we in, right?
I agree.
Okay, so
And therefore, we're going to use you as our compliance stone to fight the big nations, Ms. Bullock. Can I go back into my operation
but
now?
I speak my mind and I speak the truth. And like I say, we don't have, like you are privy to the cases, we are not. So we have what the newspaper said. And then I have my point of view based on where the Bahamas is at. Until we have a seat at the table, we must comply. Until we have persons making decisions like Carl Bethel is now the chairman of the CFATF, and Kevin Bain is at the UN, then we definitely don't have a say. We will be wiped off the map, blacklisted. Nobody's going to do business with us. Okay? If this country becomes high risk, that we finish. Okay? So we have to sit small until we could, you know what I mean, and be strategic in what we say and what we do. That's why I'm saying it shines a negative light on me. That's just my opinion. Okay, but thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Flavia.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to shed some light on and agree with you as to what you say. I really don't do politics, but at the end of the day, there's always perception and what people see you as. And even though he was doing a kind gesture for a past client or however at that time or a very close friend, it's always a perception as what investors will see the country as. At the end of the day, it's always well, gee, the PM right there, their leader of the nation, agreed to whatever he's been charged with. Yes, he may have changed or however they feel about the situation. I don't know in depth, like you saw, Julian, the details of whatever happened. And personally, that ain't really my concern. At the end of the day, it's like I say, it's all about perception. And you would have people that would say, well, they will remember, okay, this is the PM who agreed with this guy who was charged with and who wanted to put his name out there and put the country, because at the end of the day, if you're the leader of the country, they associate you as the country. So that's, I kind of understand where you were coming from when you said that it's all about perception and what you think you should do as a leader and what you think you should not do. So that's my point I wanted to make.
Yeah, okay, very good. Thank you for sharing. Okay, guys, good. Very provocative conversation. I'm glad. Please, everybody who attended, if your mic isn't working, please let us know about whatever you attended. When your mic is working, Kiwanis or whatever you have attended, when your mic is working, then share with the class so you can get 5%. Okay? Okay, good. So who would have read chapters 4 and 5 and can give us an overview of what we read? Remember, now we want to get into the practice of it being discussion based and not just Ms. Bullock telling you what it says, but discussion based and you asking questions. Okay? Anybody? Let me call some names because there's 20 persons in here and I only could hear a motorbike pass just now. Tanishka Simmons, let me see who I don't know in this class.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, yeah, I know you. Okay, I didn't know your name. Okay, so what did you read? Chapters 5 and 6?
5 and 6. Yes, I did.
Okay. And tell me what
Chapter 5 was basically giving us details on anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing. It just basically telling us the risks, inherent risks, residual risks, and it broke down and described the risk-based approach.
Okay, so what is residual risk?
Residual risk is the remaining risk after the anti-money laundering controls and other controls have been applied.
Okay, so give me an example then. Because you sound like you just read out the book. You don't sound like you know what that means.
Give you an example of residual risk.
Anybody can help her. Everybody should have read this. Come on. Who wants to help?
Nobody went up on my own with this. Okay.
I can try to help you.
Try help me, Ms. Campbell.
Let me try to help you. Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Let me try. Okay, let's say for example, someone goes to a money transfer company. And, they ask you certain questions about if you're a sender, you're supposed to provide certain information, and they're supposed to keep it.
They normally ask you to provide your source of funds. They ask you to give the reason why you're sending.
Correct. And so for the next, right. And so suppose you do all of that. You provide all of that information. However, the risk might be that you're there every week without fail.
We can't hear you, Steen.
Oh, sorry. Then actually, it's okay. But you might be very
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I think it's on a weekly basis.
No, we can't hear you again, Stan. Your might keep going out. But residual risk is just the risk that is left over. So you would have put all the controls in place. You would have followed all the rules. However, the financial services sector can still be infiltrated. We have hackers and scanners and whatever. And so therefore, even after you've put all controls in place, there is a possibility that, there will be some risk left over, because you cannot eliminate risk. You can only mitigate risk by putting controls in place. So the leftover risk that basically, you could do about it. Okay. Or this could possibly happen. So what other controls can be put in place? Or after we have applied our controls, what are they normally say, the probability of us having an event. Okay. But what chapter 5 talks about is, I think I would have showed you all the 40 recommendations. And we talked about it in chapter, I guess, 3 and 4, that the FATF created 40 recommendations. Okay, and the very first recommendation is recommendation 1. And recommendation 1 states that countries should assess their risk and then put controls in place to protect against that risk. Okay, and so therefore, if countries should assess their risk and put controls in place, then companies have to assess their risk and put controls in place. Okay, and so we call it the risk-based approach. So before it was the risk-based approach, there used to be the rules-based approach, where there were a bunch of rules and you just check the box. There were threshold rules. 5,000 people deposited $4.99. 10,000 they deposited $9.99. 15,000 they deposited $14.99. They always still below the threshold rules. So therefore, they said, do away with the rules, do away with this blanket approach, and each company and each country must assess their own risk and put their controls in place. So the risk-based approach is threefold. There should be a risk appetite. The risk appetite will say, do I like pizza or do I like chicken? Okay. Do I have an appetite for PEPs? If indeed we have an appetite for PEPs, then there are certain enhanced due diligence controls we must put in place. One of the controls is that we'll let the board approve the PEPs. We will mark them as high risk. We will review them every year. They are the controls we will put in place if the bank has an appetite for PEPs. If the bank has an appetite for high-risk countries, Russia, Venezuela, Cuba, then we would need to have controls in place to protect our institution against those high-risk countries. We'd need somebody who speaks Spanish. We would need somebody who's committed to visiting those, sanctioned countries once per year or once every 2 years. So there are controls that you have to put in place, and they must be documented. Go ahead, Renita.
Does the Bahamas have an appetite for PEPs in government?
Of course.
What you
what do you mean in government? What do you mean?
No, I mean, sorry, wrong question.
Okay.
I realize that a lot of the people that have been appointed in government,
they are the PEPs,
are in high risk businesses. So as a government, do we have a high appetite for like taking on risky people appointments?
Listen,
I don't know if I'm
and
saying
they're gonna go, when we get to the end of chapter 6, you will see a PEP is a politically exposed person. So once you work for the government, you become a PEP. Okay? In the Bahamas, a PEP is only at, I guess, permanent secretary level. But in countries like Russia, Mexico, a PEP is anybody who works for the government, all civil servants. You could sweep the floor. They considered you a politically exposed person. So in our offshore world, if you sweep the floor in a Russian, with the government on BPL, you are considered a PEP, and you should be risk rated as high risk.
Miss Bullet, why though?
Because that's the law. That's the law of their country. Just like there's Bahamian law, and if you want to do business with other countries, you have to respect their country. So Adrian was going to be extradited to the US to go in there because he was caught in their waters, right? And so the same thing, they have rights just like us. If you want to go to the Bahamas and open up an account in the Bahamas, you are still a citizen of Mexico or of Russia. And so the Bahamas has to respect Russian law if they have a Russian portfolio.
Miss Bullet, that's what I was trying to get at. Like Adrian is considered, his business, I guess, is considered somewhat of a high risk. So
yeah, because that's cash intensive. You have to find out why.
Right, so
yeah, because of the cash intensivity.
With that, you have Mr. Bassi and Ms. Bryce. These are all affiliated with those high risk businesses, and they're all politically affiliated now. That's what I was trying to say.
Right, right. Yeah, so it ain't like a double high risk. They already considered PEPs. And so you would just monitor them annually.
How is he a PEP?
Sorry?
How is he a PEP?
Adrian?
Yes.
No, he is cash intensive. She said, did you say Sabas or you said Leslie and her husband?
Yeah,
I said Mr. Bastian and Miss Bryce.
Yeah, Miss Bryce as well as her husband.
Oh, I think it's you saying.
She was already Leslie Miller's daughter, so she would have been a PEP because a PEP is
she was already exactly
mother, sister, brother, close associate, all of that is included in a PEP.
Correct. Okay.
Right. Yeah, so she would have been a PEP before that, but Sabas, he had run under the PLP ticket at one point. Now he's the ambassador. I don't know if Adrian got an ambassador post as well. That would make him a PEP if he got the ambassador.
Oh yes, he's okay. Yes.
He's an ambassador as well.
No, I mean Sabas.
Yeah. So yeah, that would.
I don't think. I don't know, but you never know.
Yeah, he's the ambassador to one of those countries.
So Ms. Bullard, I'm trying to understand why political persons placed at a higher risk.
Because there's thief all the government money. What you mean, why?
No, I just wanted
No. I guess sorry. They are more susceptible to money laundering, because under the table, bribes and corruption and stuff like that. Let me give you this $1 million. Let me take you on my yacht. Let me fly you around in my jet. But I need that little contract.
Don't forget to buy them shingles.
Yeah. That's why. Yeah. Go
I just
ahead,
wanted to
Brianna.
make sure I was sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brianna.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to ask the question, what is the government doing specifically about people who are politically employed taking the money?
Nothing, absolutely nothing.
I can answer that, nothing.
They have a Auditor General's department. The audits are up to the roof. And the last 5 persons that got charged with bribery and corruption were let go. And anybody before that was let go. Absolutely nothing, Brianna. But I'm sorry, where Julian? Don't come
So,
for
Ms.
me,
Bullock.
Julian.
Hold on,
Don't
hold
come
on.
for me.
Ms.
Oh, sorry,
Bullock.
sorry, Anita, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Where does that leave us as a country if they're going to make decisions like that? Whereas, okay, for instance, they do these type of things and they just get off.
Well, they've been getting off for years, right? But now the laws have changed. We are being internationally watched. And so therefore, we have something called a corruption perception index. And like the president in Brazil and stuff have been impeached. The governor has gone to jail. In Brazil, it's civil law where you are guilty until proven innocent, right? And so you would see their CPI index, any corruption perception index less than 45 is considered a high risk country. And then you would find corresponding banks say that we don't do business with countries that have a CPI index less than 30. So of course, if you can't send out wires, your country is considered blocked, right? And so that's what they do. So they have a bribery index. I think the Bahamas is 81 in the bribery index. Then they have a corruption perception index, and the Bahamas is about 65 or 66 there. So we're in good standing now. But again, the laws were updated. All the loopholes and the gaps, for the most part, were closed. And so now we're on an enforcement era. So what you used to get away with in the past, you technically won't be getting away with it any longer, but persons still have those behaviors. You know, we still have the same persons who've been in government for the last 40 years. Now their children are politicians. And so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wasn't
we'll
there
see.
something in the papers recently about with Shane Gibson, him being awarded funds for winning the case against the government in reference to him being charged?
Yes.
What I don't get is,
I just was about to ask that.
He got $2.5 million for defamation of character and saying it's hard for him to find a job now because his reputation is ruined. But what I don't understand is, first of all, there was so many loopholes in the court, his case. He won his case on a technicality. It was not his first rodeo. It was not his first time being accused. And so therefore, I don't understand, if you were not acquitted because you were innocent, how, because of a technicality, you can now want compensation. I don't understand it.
Isn't there a difference between being found not guilty and being found innocent? Because he wasn't found innocent, he was just found not guilty because of the technicality.
Right, because of a technical. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not certain. Julian perhaps can tell us. But like I say, it wasn't because it was because of a technicality that he won.
Right.
Ms. Bullitt, I read one of the articles that said that the Attorney General at the time didn't want to go forward with the cases, but he was forced to go forward with the cases because the Attorney General at the time said there wasn't enough evidence or for the case. That's what the Attorney General said.
First of all, they made a mockery of the police because the senior police officer who took the statement sat on again, according to the newspaper, sat on the in the courtroom and said 2 of the statements did not match. So I call them and tell them their statement did not match. So come in and fix this. Okay, so right there, that should have thrown the case out completely. I don't know if that in fact would throw it out, but she still kept her job, and then she was later on removed. But that was a mockery right there. If you put a senior officer on a case, how could you call the witnesses back and say, yes, statements don't match, come change it? And then you could sit in court and testify with your rank and not be reprimanded. I mean, it
happened to him.
It was a joke. It was a complete joke. It was, yeah.
They say
It's a
Nassau is
joke.
not a real place.
Yeah, correct.
Took the
And
words out my mouth.
internationally, I'm telling you, if that was a mockery of the judicial system. And so I don't know if Julian can respond to that, but that Julian was, I don't know, a disaster of all disasters. But again, these are the types of things which will cause us our corruption perception to drop. Okay, we get below 45, we're considered high risk. We get below 30, people just don't do business with us. Okay,
But
and I can tell you,
isn't he not the only, he's not the only one that's going to be
Julian said
compensated,
something.
right?
everybody's off. Everybody is off. Everybody who got brought before the court.
What is now off here?
Yeah.
But I
Everyone
mean,
is.
he's not the only one going to be compensated. The other one is going to be compensated. Oh Lord, I forgot his name. The other minister.
Kendrick
but
Dawson.
he's
Kendrick
not
Dawson.
technically being
It
compensated.
can't be Frank Smith. Because
No, Kendrick Dawson is being compensated as well as the guy with the shingles. What's his name?
With the
Mr. Ash,
shingles.
he's being compensated as well.
Okay, well, they continue to
fact
make a
that
laughing stock of the judicial
fact that
system, and
their,
think that
their integrity was called into question should not allow them to be able to find other positions in government.
see, Julian saying malicious prosecution where the investigator lied or legally misrepresented the facts. Why wasn't the investigator in prison then? Why was she not removed till a year later? Julian,
yeah, 10 years
listen, Julian, they say in a PLB or F&M class, we speak the truth. We try to build awareness. We want people to open up their eyes and see corruption,
going on?
where corruption is, and to be able to identify it. So if this ain't your first rodeo, if you get locked up always in a problem 5 or 6 times, I don't know how malicious the prosecution is, Julian. I'm sorry to say. But
So
Julian
she ain't
came
get
around today.
before the courts before?
Should have gone before the courts for you take all the housing money that you got.
Oh, yes.
Take all the money and y'all put in where the money is again.
Hello.
I forget that.
Whilst what his name was, Frank Smith was chairman, $10 million missing from PHA. Stop it, please. Stop it. Anyway, this ain't a PLP or F&M class.
Look what
If the
Julian
chairman
said.
ain't responsible, if the money missing and the chairman ain't responsible, I don't know what to say. But let's leave that. Risk-based approach, recommendation 1, we understand. Framework, I'm glad Julian can't talk. Julian, I love you. You can type what you want, Julian. We are reading your comments. You go on. All right. We have risk-based approach, 3K framework, risk appetite. I want pizza or I want McDonald's. Risk assessment. I am going to assess the risks that operational risk, residual risk, inherent risk, and I can document all of that, and I put a control library in place to say these are the controls I have in place to protect my institution. And then risk rating is how you risk rate your clients, and then how the international regulators risk rate a country. Okay, so that's what the risk-based approach change from rules-based to risk-based, and it's tailored to your country or tailored to your institution. And so what happens in the country, the central bank governs all the banks, so they go out to all the banks and they send surveys, they collect risk assessment from each financial institution, and then they compile that information, and that's how you find out the risk assessment from the central bank. Then the Securities Commission goes to all the broker dealers, the gaming board goes out to all the gaming houses and the casinos, the insurance commission goes out to the insurance places, they compile all this information and they send it on to be the risk assessment for the country. Now, no country wants to be considered high risk because some countries don't do business with countries that are high risk. And even though we are medium high, I think I showed you all on the map the other day. Did I show you all the map or the country risk rating? Yes,
Yes.
no, maybe so. I did. Okay, yeah. So we saw that we are medium high. Okay, and so therefore, we are steps away from being high risk. And all these various corruption, bribery, all these different things can cause us if they feel that the country is not effective to be high risk. And so let me just give you an example of the net effect. I worked at a Swiss institution where the traders have to trade offshore, but the trading desk is still in Switzerland. And the reason why this trading desk is in Switzerland is because you have to have an account. I told you all this story already with like a Deutsche Bank or Wells Fargo or what have you. And so we pay Switzerland $100,000 a year to hold our trading desk because they have these accounts with the major banks. And we have the traders sitting here in Bahamas. And so we, of course, you know, just before the pandemic, everybody was trying to save money. And then, of course, during the pandemic, we wanted to cut costs. So we was like, definitely cut this cost. We still want to offer securities to our clients. However, cut this cost. Let's open up our own account with Chase Bank in New York. Went there, tried to open an account, and they told us straight off the bat, we don't even want to give you all our account opening documents because we don't do business with high-risk countries. And we said, of course, we're not high risk. And they said, how can you, it's perceived that you're high risk. And I said, no, we can prove it. And I was able to go back to only the 214 risk assessment, risk rating that was done on the Bahamas. And they said, oh no, definitely not. We can't accept that. So we need a more current assessment. And so they did not open up the account. And to date, we are still paying that $100,000 for that trading desk because the Bahamas has not updated its risk assessment. The last time it was in 215, 216 one, it was gravely deficient because if we remember, in 215, that's when gaming took on all of the, what do you call it, the number houses. So there was limited information in the risk assessment from the government, from gaming. Just recently in 2019, the Compliance Commission started to regulate broker dealers, the jewelry people downtown, cash for gold, real estate companies that offer corporate services and financial services, law firms and accountants. So now in 2019, they have finally gone out to those industries, received that information and sent it up into the group that's trying to compile the risk assessment for the entire country. So you could just imagine all those different entities, it's loads of work. They had promised it would have been in March of 2021. We were watching every day for it to come out. It did not come out. And I haven't heard any update. So the government changed now. So now, of course, you know, we gotta move everybody was in place, put new people in place. Those people gotta catch up. And then, so it's probably delayed again. So that's the risk assessment for the country. In the meantime, in the interim, 2018, we paid $100,000, 2019, 20, 21, 22, $500,000, $500,000 we have been paying because the country's risk assessment is not complete. Okay. So in 2019, hold on 1 second, I can't see. Stop. I gotta turn on the light. Give me a minute. Okay, so in 2018, when all of the laws were updated, each regulator went out to the industry. Gaming went out to the gaming houses. Central bank went out to the banks. Compliance Commission went out to the accounting firms, law firms, and the broker dealers. Now, the ones that have a corporate service providers arm or a financial service providers arm, like the Hicks and Johnson and the Deloitte, not the criminal lawyers. Okay, and think about it, your law firm, you didn't have to have this in place before. You didn't have to have compliance. You didn't have to be registered or what have you. And so now it's required. And by June, you have to do a risk assessment on your entire business. Okay, and so first of all, these law firms been open for 50 years. They didn't believe that they had to do it. Okay, and they didn't have a compliance. They just had to add the paper looking for the compliance person. So in our ICA class, every lawyer, every accounting firm that offered it showed up feeling that I'm not going to pay somebody $50,000, $60,000. I could do this myself. So here it was, they were trying to become compliance officers so they could, you know, keep their businesses open and registered and then meet that deadline for June. A lot did not meet that deadline. Okay, and a lot of persons got fired. A lot of companies like the credit unions were just being in 2018, I think, regulated by the central bank. And so it was a bunch of laws. Laws are very expensive. You have to train people. People just don't jump. I've been to this job for 20 years and we had to do it. Do we really have to do it now? And in my experience in 2018 and 2019, you know, the last time I had heard from central bank was 6 years prior. You know, they didn't call you when they asked you for something. If you didn't send it in, it was no big deal. However, they sent out these surveys. And of course, Ms. Bullitt just said, oh, I can't say we don't do this and we don't do that. So Ms. Bullitt, 200 word, 200 question survey, Ms. Bullitt going check, 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 check. Then when I look, because we were duly regulated, the Securities Commission sent out a survey too. Ms. Bullitt going check, 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 check. And I submit them by the deadline. And they came right back to me. Ms. Bullitt, you didn't provide source document. And I was like, what are you referring to? And how come you all call me? I just sent you all something. And what had happened was they had hired an entire analytics department and assigned a relationship officer to each financial institution. And so now here's the enforcement, here's the, you know, the hands-on approach. Here's Ms. Bullitt, I can call you every week and you have to send me proof. All of your persons are trained, of course. Send me a copy of the training, send me a copy of the signature. How many persons work with you? I say 33. I don't see 33 signatures on it. You have 2 days before you will find this, to send me a completed signature list with everybody's signature. Where's the test you gave them? I said, oh, we don't normally give a test. You have 2 weeks to give a test and send us back the results. Anybody who got less than 70% has to retake the training. I was like, what? And request and request and request. You said you have a policy on this, send it. You said you have a policy on that, send it. And there was at least 21 policies that they had asked for that. Some of them we did not have. So then Ms. Bullitt had to run around the institution, go to credit, please give me a policy on this, please do this. They was like, well, why you tell them yes? I said, I couldn't tell them no. You know, and so that's what happened in 2019, and it's been happening ever since, this risk-based approach. Okay, and they say the risk-based approach is described as risk identification and assessment, risk management and mitigation, documentation of risk assessment. And again, a risk assessment is only as good as the day is completed. Ms. Bullitt is law abiding right now. And me and Julian having this fight. I going out there to look for Julian, right? And I end up money laundering, right? And so I want Julian to speak as good about me as he say, malicious prosecution of Ms. Bullitt, right? So you could commit a crime right afterwards, right? And so that's how many times you have to change, you have to update. But of course, you know, when you have 800 clients, this is why you have high, medium, or low. The high ones will be checked and reevaluated every year. The medium clients will be checked every 2 years, and the low risk clients will be checked every 3 years. Okay, is that clear so far? We understand risk appetite, who we could do business with, and the controls we could put in place to protect our institution. The risk assessment is the different type of risk. Sorry?
Could you go over that point again? Could you go over the point again, please? But how often they should be assessed?
Yeah, it's only as good as the day it was completed. But for operational, you know, administrative sanity, you would risk rate your clients. So you can tailor it to your business. Most businesses say, every year we are going to assess the high risk and the PEPs. Every 2 years, the medium risk. Every 3 years, the low risk. And so you would have a risk rating form that's similar to what we looked at when we looked at the Basel Committee, how they risk rated countries. So there's normally like 10 categories on that risk rating form. The nationality, the country they do business with, how much money they could bring into the bank. Okay, and then that's tallied up, and that depending on what scoring you get, then they decide whether you're high, medium, or low. Okay, so it's threefold: risk appetite, risk assessment, risk rating. Okay, is that clear? Tom, any questions so far?
Can you repeat the three again, please, Ms. Bullard?
Risk appetite. That's who we want to do business with. Risk assessment, criminal risk, the reputational risk, the legal risk, the credit risk.
Okay.
Then with that risk assessment, they implemented 3 lines of defense. The front line and the managers are the first line of defense. Compliance is the second line of defense. And then audit is the third line of defense. So there are 3 lines to protect the institution against infiltration, scanners and hackers, and any risk. Go ahead, Andrea. No question? No? Okay. So,
Hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry, I'm now online. Do you have an example of a risk matrix?
If I have, sorry, if I have an example of
risk matrix.
Okay, so these words are used interchangeably. When you say a risk matrix, what are you referring to? A risk assessment or a risk rating?
An assessment.
An
How are you
assessment.
going to put the controls in, and all of that?
Okay, let me show you something, and we'll go more into, because if you go on to if you go on to intermediate, there are 6 chapters of, no, sorry, not 6, there are 4 chapters of risk. So let me try and share my screen, and this is part of it. This is called a control library. So you see where it says audit area compliance. This is for account opening. We want to ensure all new business relationships are within the bank's risk appetite, approved in accordance with local and international regulatory frameworks. So in the bank's appetite, if we don't do business with PAPs, she and Gibson should not be walking in our bank to open up an account. If we don't do business with Russia, no Russian clients, we shouldn't worry about those sanctions. Okay, then what could happen? It could be a reputational risk that we suffer. Okay, inherent risk, accounts can be opened without the appropriate approvals. Inherent risk score, high. For accounts rejected by compliance, private banking can escalate to a compliance committee. Okay, and what happens is we say, well, we don't do business with Russia. Oh, he was only born in Russia, but he lived in the United States since he was a teenager. So technically he's an American. Does his parents still live in Russia? Yes. Does he send money to his parents? Yes. Okay, then he still has Russian connections. We reject the account. Okay. How often would we want to review these accounts to make sure they are opened with the appropriate approvals? 100% of the time. Who would do this? Compliance committee. If we go down to operations, you see where they talk about filing. We say, ensure safe custody of the client files and proper record keeping in accordance with regulatory requirements. And again, like I said, this is the control library. And with the files, we're only going to check 25% of the files because we have 800 accounts. So we can't check 800 accounts. We'll only be, checking risks all day long. So we'll check 25% of the accounts to make sure all files are logged out properly. The ops team encouraged to peruse the log book at the end of the day. And we can request any items that have not been returned, and all files have been kept in an individual hanging folder clearly marked to identify account and avoid filing errors. Right, so 25% of that we will check each month. Okay, let me show you one more thing, which is the actual risk rating that we would have submitted to the no, that's not it. What did we submit? It wasn't that. So, no, it wasn't that. I think this is how I pull it up. 1 second. Okay, this is what we would have submitted to the Central Bank and the Securities Commission. This is the assessment where we say credit risk, market risk, interest rate risk, the likelihood, the impact, the gross risk. This is how it looks. And then we go down and then we explain the first line of defense, the second line of defense, the third line of defense, and our controls, you know. So that's how it looked, what we would have sent it. Okay, so just to give you a visual, that answers your question, Andrea?
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah, okay.
Thank
So that's
you.
how it looks. Yes, go ahead, Brianna.
Okay, so you said that y'all would check about 25% of the accounts. What happens with the other 75, or do you rotate it?
Yeah, we rotate. So if we check in monthly, we'll check the first 25, and we won't pick the same thing with the same account within a given year.
All right.
Okay, Renita?
My question is, the NRA, was the NRA being established because of the 40 recommendations?
Yes,
Or that was just-
recommendation. No, recommendation 1, countries must assess their risk and put controls in place.
So that's why we have a body just for risk assessing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's a lot of work. Okay, and remember, like I said, the risk assessment is only as good as the day it's completed. As you, Ms. Bullock, it'd be so good to open this account, and then Julian will get on my back for talking about these people. So yeah. Okay. So in implementing a risk-based approach, there are industry measures that should be followed: establishing systems, controls, policies, risk-based strategies, carrying out customer due diligence, continuous review of transaction and activities, reporting suspicious transactions, updating customer due diligence when triggered, preparing and monitoring management information, training staff, and keeping up to date with trends and typologies. And again, Renita as well, there's an AML risk assessment that was due in June 22nd of 2019, and there was an enterprise-wide risk assessment due in October of 2019, and that meant you had to document the risk for credit, you had to document the risk for finance for the entire company. And so when we approached the executive, they're like, oh, that's a compliance function, we don't know anything about it. But we had to put it on their job descriptions and actually tie it to their bonus for them to eat. They all be too busy for that. That's why we have a compliance officer. Then we had to back in with the organization to even hire somebody separately just for risk. Okay, so all of that, we are still on a learning curve. Okay, so benefits of a risk-based approach: being able to distinguish between the clients and the risk that they pose to the business. It's a cost-effective system. It helps you to avoid fines. Concentration is focused on greater risk. So of course, the high risk get enhanced due diligence, and they are monitored annually, and they have to be approved. Like normally the compliance officer approves low and medium. The compliance committee or the board approves high risk. Okay, it just depends on how it's set up in your organization. So recommendation 1 is now in Bahamian law, FDRA, section 5, making the risk assessment mandatory. Okay, so in the risk assessment, it says that's only good as today. You have to consider the regulatory and compliance risk, the criminal risk, the reputational risk. I was at Royal Bank in 2016 when we were being sued by the French government. Subsequently, Royal Bank Trust closed down because there are 5 entities of Royal Bank. There was Royal Trust, Royal Dominion Securities, Royal Capital Markets, Royal Commercial, and RBC Finco. And because we were being sued by the French government and in the newspaper every day, Royal Bank did not want to suffer the reputational risk, and so they closed completely the trust department. We were very profitable, making lots of money, but that was the only way to keep us out of the newspaper every single day. Reputational risk. There's also concentration risk. We had an account out of Antigua and Barbuda where we were their only bank, and the central bank told us that we had to, they were our largest client, and we had to close out their account or have them split their account in half because they felt like too many eggs were in one basket. And if should this bank in Bahamas fail, that bank in Antigua and Barbuda will fail because it was too much. All the money was in one bank. So they said they have to send half of their money to another bank. So we saw it as a loss of business. So of course, you know, we argued with that, but they said no, they cannot allow that type of concentration risk. So we had no choice. Okay, and so again, like I say, the world has moved from this rules-based approach to this risk-based approach. It has to be tailored to your business. It has to be tailored to the products and services that you offer. I offer this product. These are the risks associated with this product. These are the controls that I'm going to put in place to protect my institution from being infiltrated. Like I said the other day, Scotiabank offers merchant services to Atlantis. 2 or 3 years ago, their Atlantis front desk was infiltrated by scammers and hackers. The total, I think they lost about $300,000. What were the controls that Scotiabank had in place to protect? Like, did they have, when you swipe your card, the person at the front desk is supposed to look at the ID, record the ID number, ensure that the picture is the likeness of the person, get a signature, all of that. However, the actual merchant machine was hacked. And so what controls in place does Scotiabank have on their merchant machine to make sure technologically nobody can hack into their system. So they should have like barriers and IT systems or spyware and malware protection devices on their merchant devices so it's not hacked. Okay, so the risks and the controls that you have in place to protect against these risks. Any question? You're very quiet. You'll have to talk back to me.
I was just going to mention, because I work at Scotiabank and I know that's one of the things that they're always big on. And I heard you mention about the Aml training and all the trainings you have to do when you have a lot of time to finish them. Like, we just had one recently and they were blasting per country. So it was like the Bahamas behind, Trinidad behind, and they make a big deal out of it. Even the card issue, we did have a situation where someone who had a position in the printing of the cards, I don't know what happened, but they did something and they had to like wipe the whole thing because they were hacked. And that's one of the reasons why we're changing the cards now for security measures. So I know for sure we like big on compliance, and main thing is no compliance, no business. So
Correct.
I totally understand what you're saying about that.
Okay, good, very good. So any questions on the risk-based approach? Do we understand? We understand the importance of it. We understand that it changed the whole framework of the financial services sector. Okay, so if you get to intermediate, we'll delve a bit deeper into it. The more you talk about it, the clearer it gets. It's not automatically clear right up front. Okay? Okay, so let's move over to chapter 6, but Miss Bullet don't talk too much now. I have to start calling names. I don't even know some people in here. Kendra Jones. Who's Kendra Jones?
Hi.
Hi, Kendra. Why Miss Bullet didn't know you?
I don't know.
I know you. Okay, then. Once you know me, that's fine. You read chapter 6, Kendra?
No, ma'am. Would you like me to?
No?
No.
Why not?
Because I was busy at RBC.
Okay, Kendra Jones. Okay, Jamal Williamson, you was busy too?
I was busy, but I read it. I wasn't able to finish it, but I started to read it.
Okay, so did you read that there are 5 statutory requirements?
No, I reached that part. I looking
You
at it
reached that
right
part,
now. I
okay.
looking at it now.
Okay, so chapter 6 talks about customer due diligence. Very popular question always on the exam. What are we required to do? Know our customers or customer due diligence? What are we required to do? Know our customers, KYC. Then you carry out due diligence. Y'all please don't get that wrong. That always on the exam because y'all always get it wrong. It's not customer due diligence. You are required to know your client, okay? So there are 5 statutory requirements, and statutory means required by law, okay? So they are identification, then there's record keeping, then there's training, then there's monitoring, and then there's the MLRO. Those 5 things are required by law. And who just spoke? Ms. Bullet Lilo now. Scotiabank.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Training is 100% important because each year the FIU will put in the newspaper in January, like this is 2022, and in January of 2022, they will put in the newspaper, any financial institution that has not trained their entire staff complement by December 31st, 2021, will be fined $10,000 a day. And I think that's per person, okay?
Ms.
But-
Bono,
Yes.
I have a question. I work in the gaming industry, right? But a lot of these web shops don't really, their cashiers and stuff don't know about AML and all of that stuff. So are they a part of these businesses that get fined as well?
Yes, that's the gaming inspectors are not doing their jobs because annual training is a statutory requirement. Identification is a statutory requirement required by law. And when the FIU put that in the paper, that's for the entire financial services industry. Insurance companies, everybody under compliance commission, which is the accounting firms, law firms, the jewelry stores, the cash and go, broker dealers, securities firms, banks, credit unions, money service businesses, and the gaming, everybody in gaming, all the casinos and all the, so don't wait till the FATF wanted to come in and help us because they felt like, you know, we were on a learning curve and we needed help. So the gaming board are the enforcers. Don't wait till, like I said, the law has changed and they really on our backs. We're being internationally watched because for 21 years, no, for 18 years, we had a staggered approach to compliance because it was very expensive. Nobody gave us any money to put in place. Nobody gave us any money for all this training and to hire any compliance officers. So we are going to be seen as non-effective and they're going to be checking to see if we indeed don't have the loopholes that we had before and that we are enforcing. If we don't enforce, they're gonna insist that they help us. In fact, the FATF wanted to come in and help the FIU in May of 2020. However, the pandemic prevented them from coming in. Could you imagine if these international regulators come in and strategically sit at the central bank, the gaming board, and the FIU? What will happen to our friends, family, and lovers? Benita?
Some people will be out of a job for lack of doing their job.
Okay. And you think these people will be willing on a technicality and sitting up and go and talking, but they call the person in and say, come change your statement. But anyway, 5 statutory requirements, very popular, question on the exam. The purpose is to prevent reputational risk, preserve the veracity of the banking system by preventing the financial services sector to be used for criminal purposes, complement a bank's risk management strategy, but the whole, not only a bank, everywhere. Okay, so identification. There are 2 main constituents, the physical identity and then the activity undertaken. The activity undertaken is then the profile that they create. How many deposits are they going to do every month? What amount of money? Did we corroborate that information? Okay, so when a person walks into the bank, and the difference is when you work in a Canadian bank versus a Swiss bank. I worked at both. Canadians are way more conservative than the Swiss. The Swiss hate the rules and they think, you know, it stops the ease from doing business. The Canadians are much more reserved and they never want to be in problems with the regulator. So where the regulator asks for 1 piece of ID, they say, give us 2 pieces because human error, okay? And so when somebody walks into the bank, to the number house, to the insurance company, to the accounting firm, you must ask them for identity, and which is like the passport, or in the offshore world, it's a registration number or a registration card, or Julian, you still typing? Julian,
Passport.
leave Miss Colette alone, please. We can talk at the end of the class. Julian, I'm Julian blowing up this chat. Julian, please get back to where you could talk, please. You need to be in this class fully. Stop blowing me up on the text. Okay, so yeah, passports, yeah, you're right. Passport, national insurance, proof of address, or all of that.
Voter's card.
Yeah, voter's card, whatever, proof of address, whatever. You all know what you all is asking people to open up the account, right? And so this is required by law. There's nowhere in the world you could go and try and open up an account. 195 countries out of the 205 are signed on to this, and try and open an account and not, you know, get your passport or your identity or what have you. Okay, and so what has happened, you know, systemically, you know, I went to many seminars where they said systemically, we are getting passports, but instead of writing on the form Patrick, we writing Pat. Instead of writing Robert, we writing Rob or Bobby, right? You must use the full and correct name, okay? They relaxed the requirements a little bit and they said, just give us 2 types of contact. Give us your email address and your telephone number. You want your date and place of birth. And again, this is very important because some people were born in Afghanistan and they moved to the United States, okay? They lived most of their life in the United States, but they left their wife in Afghanistan. They left their children in Russia, okay? You wanna know this. Most of persons move for a better way of life, right? You need to establish, you are required to know your customer. You need to establish, are they sending money back? If they are, then they still have ties to Afghanistan and Russia. Are those countries in your company's risk appetite? Yes or no? Okay, these are the questions you want to ask. What's the purpose of it?
Sorry. A good point too is
in case of emergency, next of kin or someone you can contact in case of emergency also.
Correct, correct. In case of emergency. Okay, but the whole premise is you must know your customer. You want to know their occupation. And a lot of times we're asking persons to bring in job letters, right? And then when it gets to the activity undertaken, they brought in a job letter and they said they make $2,000 a month. But they said, I'm going to deposit every day up to $20,000. And we stop right there. We approve the account. We don't ask them, where's the remainder of this money going to come from, right? And so you have to corroborate the information that you receive. If it's a company account, they bring 3 years of the financials. We are compliance officers. We are not accountants. Set up something with your accountant department to read the, I mean, you should be able to read a basic income statement. However, don't take it on. Let the experts, the CPAs, sign off on this company is profitable. Because if the company isn't profitable, why are we opening up an account? Okay, so all of that needs to be corroborated and checked. Okay, like I said, across the industry, lots of deficiencies with names, lots of deficiencies with passport copies. A lot of persons are stamping certified true and correct. They work in the offshore world. They would have never met these persons. If you don't meet the person and you don't copy that, do not stamp that. My CEO is in problems right now. We had a customer out of Switzerland. Because he didn't want to send it back to Switzerland, he stamped it certified true and correct. I said, the FIU just asked for a copy of this file. I said, do you know Renita? He said, no, never met her. Who is she? I said, she's from Switzerland. He said, but I don't know everybody in Switzerland. I say, okay, Renita was charged with money laundering. I'm sending her file to the FIU. You signed certified true and correct on her passport. Have you ever met her? He runs downstairs. Can I see this file? Yeah. Can I take it? I said, no. Do you have to send that to the FIU? I said, yes. Okay. So sales officers normally work on commission. They don't get paid until that account is open. Okay. They don't get bonuses until that account is open. So a lot of times they manipulate the data because one, they don't want a high risk file, and two, something has not been signed properly. And so they sign it themselves, they tamper with the document, or they certify it themselves. Okay. Another thing we do is we take a very illegible copy, or we take a copy in black and white and then we scan it to the system. And we don't, some companies only do things electronically. They don't keep paper files. So when you print that out from the system and that's not in color, that picture is distorted and we cannot properly identify who that person is. Okay. And again, all of this is to protect the institution in case you have to take this file to court. So you want to make sure that you do not tamper with any of the documents.
Just to comment, even with the passport now, because with the opening of the account, we have something where our compliance team would send it back and say, well, hey, if these things aren't corrected within a certain time, they'll close the account. And I got something sent back today, and it was as simple as the person didn't sign their passport. And sometimes it's even you be like, so what? Who cares if they didn't sign? And they literally send back accounts just because the passport isn't signed.
Right, but there are a lot of fraud across passports and IDs. And so therefore, what signature are you verifying if this person signed? Which one? Does this person have 2 or 3 signatures? How do you know? You know, but you have to make sure that everything is checked and proper. They may think that they just want to, you know, it might be a high risk account. Or sometimes even the institution is on enhanced due diligence or increased controls because of some errors in the past or some fraud that may have taken place. Okay. And so if you are not seeing this person in the bank or in the organization, then it must be certified. And there are a list of persons that you can now certify a document. One incident I had with the regulator came in, the document was certified, but it was in Mandarin. Okay, so they say everything must be in English because they're not going to learn Mandarin and Spanish and all these different languages. must be certified with an English translation. We have a lot of documents on our files that are in these funny languages. They must be in English. Go ahead, Simmons.
Okay, Ms. Willard, I'm not sure if you would know, but we have that issue at work as well in regards to the passport being signed. Isn't that something that the passport office wouldn't allow persons to do when they're picking up their passport? Or
Well,
is it
it's
mandatory that their passports are signed?
yeah, it's a control that their office has in place, but I guess it depends if it's government payday, how they feel.
The
it's
passport
government
office is so negligent. Sometimes
Yeah.
they write the wrong, spell a name incorrectly from your birth certificate. So that's a whole other issue as well. One person's
Yeah.
bringing that birth certificate and then the passport or something.
Don't leave registry out either.
Correct. Yes, yeah. So this is why
Registry is
they,
just as bad.
they do enhanced due diligence, okay? So like I said, across the board, many signatures don't match. Many persons have 4 different addresses. You have a passport from Switzerland, and then they say they live in the Bahamas, but we don't have a work permit or residency permit. Like there are many deficiencies and then in other languages. The same thing with, sorry. Go ahead.
Even with the work permit issue, I remember when I first started with Vinekin, if you were on a work permit and say you work for Jane Saunders, if you came in with a check and it wasn't from Jane Saunders, we literally could not negotiate that check. And then I think a few years back, they stopped it and they were like, we ain't immigration officers, but they actually did make a whole department that does the check for us. So we'll just deposit it or do it and they'll do the background or whatever. But yeah, if your check deposits weren't in alignment with your work permit, we never used to do business with you.
Right, because of course in the Bahamas we know, and again that was just another control. We know that a lot of people just go get their, you know, their friend a little work permit on the side, right? So that's why that was a control to prevent that. Okay, so if it's a corporate client, then you want memo and arts certified. You need the name and location of the registered office. You need name and location of the registered agent, and then you want their memo and arts to make sure they are incorporated or at least a good standing from them to make sure that their business is in good standing. Date and commencement of the business, location of the principal business. You want satisfactory evidence of all account signatories. You want to identify anybody who is a 10% shareholder or more. Now it used to be 25%, and we saw share certificates coming in with 24% shareholdings. And so to me, that's a red flag. Now it dropped from 25 to 10%, and now we have people coming and saying they own 8% of the company. So it's not mandatory, but I say I need to know everybody on the account. So who is this person with 8% in the business, right? So again, people do a lot of things just to not be verified. But like I said, you want to know your customer. You want to know who are their associates, who are their friends, especially if they are pets. Let's take, for instance, the Prime Minister's daughter got married. Her husband would have had an account with us, her new husband, prior to them being married. He was a low risk customer. Now that he married the Prime Minister's daughter, what do we do? Anybody?
He's a pet.
Now he is a pet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he has to
now
be reassessed.
Yeah, he has to be reassessed, and now he is a pet. Okay.
That's a PEP customer.
Yes. Yes. And so now he would have gone from low risk to high risk.
High risk.
Right. Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay. With companies, normally if they're just established, you don't get a good standing. That means they would have paid their fees until the following year. And so you have to make a notation in the system that you should get a good standing every year, because you cannot have accounts for companies that have been struck off, the registrar's list. So you have to make sure you get that good standing every year. You want to verify the source of funds. So you get source of funds for low and medium, and for high risk customers, you ask them for a source of wealth. Okay, you want to make sure, corroborate, like I said, all the information that they bring into you. Can I afford to deposit $10,000 a month? How? I also get rent. I also own a boat. These are my revenue streams. This is what adds up to the 10,000. Okay, so you cannot be, you don't want to be intrusive, but you want to do relationship banking where you develop a relationship with the customer. So the customer is, you know, comfortable with giving you all their personal information. Okay, and then their review is in accordance with whether they're risk rated high, medium, or low. Okay, but we'll talk about that when we go on to monitoring. Okay, so that is the statutory requirement of identification.
Ms. Bullard, question,
Yes.
what you said is required of high-risk clients, documentation-wise?
For low risk and medium
No,
risk? No,
no, high.
no, I know, I heard you. For low risk and medium risk, we get source of funds or source of income. For high risk, we get source of wealth. Okay, so a little bit more. A source of funds can be a job letter. Source of wealth can be, give me a rental agreement. Give me your financial statements, you know, a little bit extra, a little bit further we go for enhanced due diligence. Okay.
Question, I wouldn't say a question, but persons with dual passports. Let's say you have a British passport, he resides in Turks and Caicos, and he has a Bahamian passport.
Well, Turks and Caicos is on the FATF high risk because they are non-compliant. They don't even have a central bank, right? And so that person, you always go with the higher risk. Some companies will tell you they don't take customers with dual citizenship, or they automatically place them as high risk, and enhanced due diligence is occurs on them, or review is carried out on them. In order to, at our institution, there's something called a Proximal Report. When you're high risk, that costs $1,500. So automatically your account fees go from $250 to $1,500 per person. So if you have 4 persons on that account, you could pay $6,000 just for the application fee. So enhanced due diligence costs a whole lot more, or high risk customers does. Okay. And with these company accounts, you have to be careful of these omnibus accounts. You want to be sure that you label these accounts properly, because let's look at a case that's in the news that I read, and it was about our good pastor and head of the, what was it? Oh Lord, Edison Sumner. What was he? The head of what? The Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. So this is not the entire truth. You're please read the case to get the full details. Okay. He had a company where he was a signatory. I don't know if he was second in charge or what have you. He was not the CEO. I believe he was the CFO. Well, this is just an illustration of what happened. He opened an account at the Scotiabank. He said this account was for cryptocurrency. He said, we're going to deposit. We're going to have like 25 customers come in, and they're going to give you $100,000 each. And this money is to be invested into cryptocurrency. So they signed up with his company, filled out their application, went down to the Scotiabank, and each deposited their money. Okay. Edison Sumner partner decided that I can invest some money in the cryptocurrency, but I want a BMW. I want to send a check down to the auto mall. Then I want a Rolex watch. Then I want to take my children on a vacation to Disney World. Okay. And so this is what they did. And so when the persons wanted to find out what was happening with their money, they could not be reached. There was no accounting, there was no return. And so they approached, I guess, lawyers, got a subpoena to go into Scotiabank, and Scotiabank then said, well, this is where the money went, to the auto mall for the BMW that he drives, or what have you. And so in the end, that company closed down, and the license was taken away and the CEO was banned for life from the Securities Commission, and Edison Sumner was banned for 10 years because he was a signatory to the account. So a lot of times when we have verified these accounts, we just looked in, oh, Edison Sumner, yeah, his signature match. No, we have to ensure that this is a company account, this is other person's money. So companies normally call that an omnibus account. We have to make sure that they stay within the profile. This is how much transactions they are making per month. This is how many withdrawals, deposits, and it's for cryptocurrency. So when that request came in to send a check to the auto mall for BMW, that should have generated a suspicious transaction report. Okay, because the account is for cryptocurrency. Okay, so when you're dealing with company accounts, when this is an omnibus, that means this is not their money. They have customers coming in, bringing money. You have to make sure you are the account officer at Scotiabank. You are to ensure that you protect those persons' investment, even though they open up the application with another company. You are the gatekeeper for Scotiabank. Okay, so it has to stay within the profile. If it's not within the profile, then you start to have a conversation. Why would you be buying a BMW? Okay, so as the gatekeepers, that's our responsibility. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Ms.
Ms.
Bullitt.
Bullitt,
So, Ms. Bullitt, question, in terms of something like that, who would be the persons to pick up on the fact that the checks weren't going to where they were supposed to be going to? Would it be like
Scotiabank.
frontline managers? I mean,
Yeah,
like
the
in the
account, each account has an account manager. Once a transaction comes into the bank, as you see, it's normally come in by email. That account manager has to sign off on it. And there's normally 2 signatures required. And so they check that the signature matches, but now you have to also check that it's within the profile of the account once it's a business account.
Okay.
You see what I mean? You can't just say,
Yes,
oh,
ma'am.
they said they could deposit 10,000 and there's only 5,000. If that 5,000 going to pay somebody's school fee, and that's supposed to be for cryptocurrency, you are negligent, you should be fired, and Scotiabank should be sued.
Yeah, because that's what I was wondering, because if you have signatories, shouldn't like more than one person sign off on a
Yeah,
transaction?
but the signatures match. This is my point. Edison Sumner was one signatory and his CEO was the next. They matched.
Oh,
but that was your money, Renita's money, Lacaria's money, and Patrick's money. Did you all come together and say, don't invest in cryptocurrency, buy yourself a BMW?
No.
Okay.
that was out of the parameters of that account.
Right. So 2 years later, when you realize that you ain't get no dividends, no return, no nothing, then you start the question. The company, they never there, they can't give you no answer. So what you do? Now I give my money to Scotiabank. Let me go down to Scotiabank and ask them what they do with my deposit. And so when so many people started the question, you know, it kind of came to light.
Yeah, would it be regarded as wire fraud? That's something. It's
Yeah.
similar. It's similar.
Yeah.
It's similar to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but Scotiabank were the gatekeepers. They should have never approved those transactions because it was outside of the profile of the account.
Right, outside the perimeters of the account. Yeah.
Yeah.
The account was specifically
For
open to.
cryptocurrency, yeah,
Right.
or for investments.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to
Okay.
purchase not to purchase any consumer goods.
Right. So if they wanted consumer goods, that should have been from their own operating account, not from
Correct.
a specific account for cryptocurrency. Yeah, with
Correct.
other people's money. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay,
All
good. So that's identification. Statutory requirement, record keeping, the Securities Commission say 7 years, the central bank say 5 years. So after the account is closed, you just keep those records in good order. You better have a good filing system. And if you cannot produce these files 7 years after the account is closed, you're going to jail and the bank getting fined. Okay, so make sure you keep proper records. That's all record keeping says. Okay, so you just have to see who your regulator is. We were a bank, and so we, of course, Canadian bank, we never wanted to be in trouble with with central bank, and so we put 3 years onto that for human error. So central bank said 5, we say keep it for 8. Sometimes we say keep it for 10, and then some things we didn't destroy at all. And of course, we had very senior persons in our filing room and at our offsite storage to make sure that we could retrieve, because there were many cases regarding wills and stuff like that. People whose family was stealing money and because their name was on the account. We had to produce a lot of files to the FIU and to the central bank. So keep proper records.
Sometimes the courts get involved in that.
Right, and the courts, right. So AML training, new employees should get general information. Who is the MLRO? What are the written policies? Employees dealing directly with the public. Training should be focused on issues that may give rise to suspicion and procedures to be adopted when a transaction is deemed to be suspicious. Managers should have another level of training. It just depends on where you are in the institution. However, everybody, including, could somebody mute their mic, please? Right, okay, so everybody should get training. Before it used to just be the staff, now it's the board, any external asset manager, any business introducer, everybody has to now be trained, okay? And like I said, the FIU puts that ad in the paper every January, $10,000 per day per person. If one person ain't trained, you're getting that 10,000, because we have some people at the executive level say, oh, they don't have time, or they always absent when training is. So they had to put a fine in place, okay? And then back to monitoring. Once we would have opened that account, we are going to risk rate you, high, medium, or low. If you are high risk, we are going to review you each year, call you on the phone and say, hi, Miss Dorset, anything different changed? Yes, I married Brave Davis' son. Oh, that's the Prime Minister. Now you are okay, right? And so this is how you find these things out, because it's not always in the paper, okay? But you are required to know your customer and document on this day they were married. So before the person was low risk, we now have to reassess them, okay? Then you want to print out all the transactions for the year they stayed in, because you might have missed, when a buyer come out and you might have been on vacation or something, and then you would have realized that, hey, Ms. Bird went outside of her profile. So you print that out and you sign off on it, that I checked these transactions. I did a printout, and this is how the review is done. Okay, so you want to monitor. And then, of course, compliance has those systems, should have a scanner through WorldCheck that scans the name every night. Ms. Bullitt is law abiding today. Tomorrow, I before the court's trying to win on a technicality. So they should be able to pull my name up again. The hyphenated names won't show up. This incorrect spelling. Okay, so it's very important that the names are spelled correctly, because Shantane every night will be getting away and we'll never pick her name up because we mix the A and the E up. All these things are very important. Okay, when I was at Royal, we had 800 accounts. I had to make sure that 800 would print out from the system. And a lot of times the relationship managers, it's like, oh, they change the relationship managers and it don't matter. It matters, because that's the person who's going to jail. And if that name ain't spelled correctly in the system, that's the person who's responsible. So you have to have somebody operationally checking all these things, that there are no glitches, okay? Because you could end up in jail. And then reporting, the MLRO, the money laundering reporting officer, it's a regulated function, must be approved by the regulator, have 3 to 5 years experience. I say you need to be well-rounded. I was the relief person. I've been in almost every department, and that's how you become effective, because you have the basics of how the institution runs. Then you must have ACAMS or ICA designation, and they ask you, the FIU, once the regulator approves you, then you send an application to the FIU and you let them know that you're the MLRO on behalf of the institution. If the institution is brand new, they cannot get a business license, or they cannot get an approval, a banking license or a gaming license without that MLRO on staff. Okay, the MLRO is the person that receives the suspicious transaction reports and investigates, and then decides if they are going to file it with the FIU. Okay, when you apply as the MLRO, they're going to ask you for a private number, a private email address, and directions to your house in case there's an event. Okay, right up front. Okay, and that's the 5 statutory requirements: identification, record keeping, monitoring, training, and the MLRO. Okay, and then the book goes on to talk about what we talked about a little bit: simplified and enhanced due diligence. There's also a category of exempted. There are, companies that are listed on the stock exchange, life assurance companies, broker dealers, investment fund administrators, anybody that's licensed by the regulator, they are exempted from producing KYC. Okay, but Royal Bank of Canada was very conservative. They just say we don't open up exempted accounts. So if Scotiabank wants to come and open up an account for Scotiabank personal payments to Royal Bank, they have to bring in all their KYC. In fact, I was Royal Bank Trust, and I had Royal Bank Trust had an account with Royal Bank Retail. And when my passport expired, they said, Ms. Bullitt, your passport expired. Bring in the new copy of your passport or we could block the bank account. I say, we have millions of dollars going to that account every day. I am an employee, and they blocked the account. So I had to go run and renew my passport, or go home, right? So it just depends on your institution. So that's exempted, but the government does, or the law permits persons to be exempted if they're already regulated by the regulators, because the gaming board says, you can trust me, we have already asked them for all their KYC, and so we'll have it on file. So they could just open the account, but the Canadian banks say, no, we don't do exempted. Okay, and then there's simplified due diligence. Normally, this is carried out over low and medium accounts. So the controls for simplified due diligence is we just world check, we let the compliance officer approve, we get source of income. If there's enhanced due diligence, we mark the account as high risk, we let the compliance committee or the board approve, we get a proximal report that costs $1,500 a world check and Google searches, and then we monitor you annually. Okay, so that's the difference between simplified and enhanced. Simplified due diligence carried out for low and medium risk accounts. Enhanced due diligence carried out for high risk accounts. Okay, and then we talked about a PEP already. A PEP is automatically high risk. Any close associate, family member, prominent public function, parent, child, sibling, politically exposed person. You want to know your customer, and so this is how you find out that information. And again, like I said, if you deal in the offshore world, you must respect Mexico's definition of PEP, who says every civil servant is a PEP. If you deal with Venezuela and the Latin American countries, many countries don't give business license to individuals. You become you get into a joint venture with the government in Venezuela. Most of the 90% of the businesses are related to the oil PDVSA, and so therefore you get a business license with a joint venture with the government, which means the government owns 60% of your business and you only own 40%. And so therefore, if you are in a joint venture, the majority owner is who is considered risky and the majority owner in Venezuela is always the government. So you would have Venezuela accounts, even if Venezuela wasn't sanctioned. All their accounts, business accounts with PDVSA and the government are high risk. Okay. Any questions or concerns?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Let me look for some names. Oh Lord, Julian, you're killing me on the chat. I hope you could talk. Get ready. Get ready for Miss Bullet. Let me see participants. Let me see these people. Oh, I don't know. Lakaria Nubol, give me some feedback on the statutory requirements.
Oh, gee. The statutory, sorry, the statutory requirements are those given by law, such as the identification. Each financial institution should have a record of the, should know their customer. They should keep records of each client in terms of if the client closes their account, and let's say they get persecuted, they'll be able to go back to those accounts and get said information to at least help with cases. You have training where employees should be trained in different areas as to decrease the company from getting risks. I mean, and training, monitoring. You should monitor each company. And I think the last one, I can't remember the last one. So I can't remember the last one, Ms. Fuller.
The MLROA.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, very good. Okay. Margaret, tell me about enhanced versus simplified. A very popular question as well. Margaret there or Margaret gone? Okay, Margaret gone. Andrea, since you there. Andrea, in there, you know, okay.
I'm sorry, my phone
I'm marking
has
all y'all
been-
absent. I just want y'all to know that. Y'all keep not answering me. Absent.
No, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Didn't get your question.
Give me some feedback on simplified and enhanced due diligence.
Well, I know simplified due diligence has to do with just simple identification if you're trying to open an account. Enhanced has to do with high profile clients. I know there is, I remember when I spoke to you first and you gave the scenario of Yardi wanting to open the account and he came back wanting to deposit $10,000. And I said, why didn't you do and enhance their due diligence? And you mentioned to me that that would only be needed if he was a high profile client.
Well, high risk.
High risk, right,
Yeah.
right. So that's what I gather from the simplified and enhanced due diligence.
Okay, so you're clear on what we discussed?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Shawnette Smith, thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you.
Hi,
yes, I'm here.
Okay, so tell me about chapter 5. This risk-based approach.
Miss Phillip, why are you trying to stress me out?
But who should I stress? I mean,
Okay.
y'all need to know this. Y'all here, but y'all ain't here. What happening in that? What's going on? The test in 2 weeks. No feedback. Y'all come next week and please, y'all give y'all read chapter 7 and 8 everybody, and y'all give me a discussion on chapter 7 and 8, the last 2 chapters. Doniqua, go ahead.
I cross train.
Sorry, I
Hi.
didn't get that. What happened to Doniqua?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
That wasn't, so my question is, let's say in a scenario where we're doing our due diligence and you're getting the customer's information for opening the account. And earlier you mentioned something briefly where you said if the person was born in like Afghanistan, just for an example, and they still have ties there, like their wife or whatever, and so they're sending funds back to that country. And it's a country that
you do not have an appetite for?
I guess that would be. How would that work? Would the institution still go forward with opening that account, or would they
No.
refuse the person?
Yeah, they would refuse it because they should have a list of countries that they do business with, or they should specifically say we do not do business with high-risk countries, or they may list countries that they don't do business with. And so there are 7 or 8 countries on the block list. One is the Turks and Caicos, and so you don't open those accounts. But we have had persons insist, because like, remember, I give you a lot of salespersons, they work on commission. And they said, oh, Miss Bullet, you are crazy. This person has lived in America from he was 15. I said, but when it was time to get married, he flew back to Afghanistan at 30 years old and married an Afghan woman. You could tell me, and his children live in Afghanistan. So is he divorced? No. Is he not taking care of his family? Oh, I'll have to ask him. I said, don't even bother. It's not in our appetite. And he said, I'm taking this to the board. I said, go right ahead. Okay, so if it's a block country, it's a block country. If it's a high-risk country and you don't do business with it, then you don't do business. Because the thing about it is, you have this appetite because the organization itself does not want to be high risk. So when you look at the organization, who you do business with, when you already see 20% of our business is from Venezuela, 10% is from Russia, you really could take on up Afghanistan and expect that you in high risk. No, 50% you high risk. 50% of your business is high risk. Your organization is high risk. Your organization is now subjected to enhanced due diligence. Your organization will have to complete a risk assessment every year. Your organization will have to be audited every year because that's what they're moving towards. They're going to place your audits based on how, if you're high, medium, or low. And then, like I said, we have countries already saying we don't do business with high-risk countries. So soon you will see when the laws changed, Scotiabank and Royal Bank had the number boys accounts from before we was born. The law changed, they are too cash intensive. They don't do business with them anymore. Okay, so strategically, the country does not want to be too cash intensive. That's why they only gave out a certain amount of licenses. This is why they have a moratorium on the cash and go. This is more why they have a moratorium on the cash for gold. Because all these things make you high risk. Okay, and so if we become high risk, a lot of investors will pull up. Because every time they do business, they'll be subjected to the enhanced due diligence, or like my institution, it's not every institution. We charge $1,500 for a proximal report. A proximal investigator goes into your country, does an investigation on the history of your businesses, who your business partners, who you do work with. We had to do a proximal report on one of our customers out of Israel. We found out that he is the head of the drug enforcement unit reporting to the Prime Minister of Israel. How does that make sense? The Drug Enforcement Association, sorry, not the police. So why is an association reporting to the Prime Minister? So that changed the whole game. He now became a bat. We had to close that account because we didn't have an appetite for bats. Okay. Andrea, you want to ask a question?
Thank you.
Yes. So I am rich. I was born in Jamaica, grew up in Jamaica, came to the Bahamas, worked for years, lived in the Bahamas longer than I lived in Jamaica. And so I had some funds, which I wanted. I had a relationship with the bank, with a commercial bank, a local bank, a Canadian bank, I should say. And I was making a large deposit. Now, source of funds, they knew what the source of funds where the source was, but I was subjected to some other further verification because I wasn't born here. But my challenge was, I have a relationship with the bank. That's the only bank I have had a relationship with. But then I felt very, I was like, why was I subjected to further verification? Because I wasn't born in the Bahamas.
Was it because you wasn't born, or was it because it was outside of your profile?
No, I was opening an account. I was opening an account.
Or you was just opening and establishing a profile?
Yes. No. I was opening another account with the same bank.
Okay, but now the laws changed in 2018, so everybody is on enforcement. And so the way you were assessed 5 years ago will not be the way you are assessed now. Okay, and so back then they probably didn't consider, I don't think Jamaica is high risk, so I don't see why you would have been, the only thing you should have been asked is for either a spouse permit, citizenship, or what have you, unless something else made you high risk, or it was outside of the parameters that you had established already. And so you now have to declare the source of funds.
That could have been that, but I produced the source of funds, and it was credible. I was credible, but I was further subjected to further verification. So I was a bit perturbed, as I wasn't sure, why would I, if I have a relationship with you?
No, because this amount now is outside of the prior relationship, correct?
Yes, but I was just
okay. That's why. That's why, because it wasn't like you opened the last account and with $5,000 and you said, I'm going to deposit once a month. Here it is. Now you double that amount, and so now you now have to prove. We have to now. That's what I said. A lot of times we get documents and we don't substantiate. So now you bring in financials. We now have to read them and ask you more questions. Or you bring in a copy of the will. My mother died and left me a piece of property. I sold it. We need to see all of that. You see, so your profile changed. So I don't think it was because he was from Jamaica.
No, they said that it was a world. She said that it was it took a few days before it was cleared.
So you got a hit on your name. That's what you're saying, a world check?
No, there was no hit. No. There's a world. I forgot what the terminology is. It's a world. It's a check.
It's world check. Right. So
because once you're not up,
okay. No.
You once you're on work permit, they send out a world check.
Okay, well, in the offshore world, we world check everybody. And there are many persons. What's your last name?
My last name?
Yeah.
Bent. My last name at that time was Bent.
Okay, so there is 10
There's no
Andrea Bent out there.
I checked myself. There is no other.
And there was no
Bent.
hit?
No, I checked myself because I did I have LexisNexis and World Check. There was no other Andrea Ben. So I felt like I was
It could have
targeted.
been, but I mean, normally, like the lady said, they do it on foreigners. We do it on everybody. But primarily, we only have accounts for foreigners, to tell you the truth. So we do it on everybody.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So like if a foreigner comes to open an account, we do tell them the next day because we send it out. And then they will tell us, well, you can proceed, or, well, it's inconclusive. So that may have been why the person was asking me so many questions, not because you're national or where you from. It could have been solely that the world.
What is funny though? What is funny now though is that I opened an account, but now I have a Bahamian passport.
Oh, say so could it have been? Did you have
No, that was prior to.
Oh,
now I have
okay.
a Bahamian passport. I was subjected to these type of verification. You see that?
Okay, but maybe. I mean, you know, racism is still, it's not racism. What do you call it? It's still out there. So yeah. But then, like I said, if your profile had changed, they would need to do enhanced due diligence.
Okay.
Yeah, but to me, our cultures are so mixed now. I think 70% is Bahamian, Jamaican, and the other is Bahamian. That's what I think. That's how I feel. So I'm surprised that, people are still being treated that way in 2022.
Yeah, but that was 2018 when this happened.
Oh,
it's happened in 2018.
But see, the laws are just changed, and they didn't really know. They don't know what to do yet. They still don't believe they have to do it for the same pay. So they say my pay ain't increased, so how my work increase? That's where they at right now. Man, who this is saying, come see my attorney, Julian, please. Julian, you sound like you was an attorney, Julian. Miss Bullet can't watch what she said. I guess it's reading newspaper and tell you what I think. I sorry, Julian. So please don't take Miss Bullet to court. These are the views of Miss Bullet, not F's and all those, disclaimers that people say. All right. Julian, please have a mic next week because we need to hear from you. We can't deal with this group, this Texan thing. We need to hear your voice. Miss Bullet, I feel like, am I in jail? Am I going to be arrested tonight, Julian, after this class? I don't know. And anyway, okay, so very provocative, guys. Last week is the last week to participate, and then I will confirm the exam date as well as send out a review sheet, which each is 20 of us, and there 10 questions. And so I'll put you in group of 2. And each person can, each group of 2 will answer one of the questions for the review. Okay, and the review is for your benefit, and it will only be as good as the effort that you put into it. Okay, so if you don't show up or you don't answer, we miss your question, we go on, and if you don't know Miss Bullet, it won't be here to give you all answers. So
Miss Bullet, Miss Bullet.
Yes.
Andrea here. While you were asking for the 5 names, my mic wasn't working and I wasn't a part of the 5 names. Could I be added for next week? Because I have a scheduled Rotary meeting.
Sure, you're number 7, and that's absolutely it. No more stories to somebody else, and let you look right over me and whatever it is. Beat me, I get beat up so bad in this chat tonight, I'm scared. So that's it. 7 people next week.
That's me? And I'm included?
And Andrea, yes.
Okay,
nobody
wonderful.
else asked. That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Andrea. You're welcome. Yeah, but stop waiting till the end. I said, this is the difference between the 65 and the 70. This is the difference between the A and the B. And everybody wait till the last week. Out of 20, we have 4. Okay, so stop it. Anyway, y'all have a pleasant week. And have a productive week and be safe, and we'll do this again next week. Y'all said Ms. Bullock could turn this text off next week. Let me see, I still, okay. Okay, Julian, okay. Or you put that there, everybody see that. Okay, Julian, so y'all Andrea, you get with Judy and you'll have a productive week. And I'll see you all next week. If you don't have your homework in, please, again, next week, how will you know if you're on track? Please don't email me after that date and ask if you are on track or what have you. And this the homework list I finally found. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of homework. I got in some homework last night, about 5 pieces. That means 9 persons did their homework out of 20. I can tell you I'm only marking the first 5 for the last question. I'm not marking 11 pieces of homework on the last class. So yes, Hawk, Leosha, yes, Hawk. I asked you all not to wait till the end, and everybody is waiting till the end. And that's not effective because you don't even know where you stand at this point. Brianna, go ahead.
I have a question. Did you get the homework that I sent last week and last night?
I hope so. Did I respond? I normally say receive, so.
I didn't get any email.
Shantae, or who said they didn't get the welcome message? Could you please put your email address in the chat so I can send that to you right now? Brianna,
I have a question. What if I preferred question 4 and that was the one that I intended to do?
Okay, that's fine.
Just got to get it in early.
And you did make sure get 100%.
Just checking.
If you need help, but I had people do question 4 and got 10%, and then wanted to cry over the exam. But
then Miss Bullard, but
don't have to wait until the due date to turn it in, though. You could do it now and turn it in now.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was the due date. Had to
the
be in.
due date is the latest date that you can turn it in.
Okay.
Brianna,
Okay.
I put in your name, Brianna Brooks.
Okay.
No, I don't see anything coming up. Brianna Brooks. No, Brianna, I don't see anything from you.
My email is BRILOVESALL.
Wait 1 second. Say it again, please. Start over. BRILOVESALL.
ALL143@gmail.com.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything from you. All the emails came up where we would have sent the welcome message and that's it.
Okay, can you confirm your email then?
It's TBULLARD 1-800@gmail.com.
Okay, I sent it to that email.
Okay, let me check my junk. Okay,
All right.
Dorset, can you tell me if I just sent a welcome message. Can you tell me if you received it, please? Check my junk box 2 in spam. Perry Brooks. Yeah, both of them went into my junk mail from Perry.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What is this? This can open. What's this? This can't open. This saying somebody shared a file with me.
Would you like me to send it again if it can't open?
Oh, it looks like it opened in the shared file. Perry. This is not.
Yes, ma'am, I got it.
Okay, good. Let me see how do I get this out of the junk box now. Not spam. Okay, so which one? Or two is the same thing? Yeah, because it didn't come from you. It came from a Perry J. Brooks SP@hotmail. That's you?
Yeah, it probably sent under his email instead of mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it going to my junk. We would have never find that.
Who is the admin for the WhatsApp group?
I think Owen must be in here tonight because he ain't talk to me tonight. Owen, you there? Oh no, Owen ain't in this class. Sorry. Gator, it ain't you? I can't hear you.
It's me.
Could you add those persons? I mean, it's so, yeah, it's so full. So could you add those persons, please? Some numbers in there. You'll probably want to send them again, or you'll just scroll through. Gator, be so kind to add your that need to be added. Okay, we good? Any more questions or concerns?
Yeah.
No?
Yes, Miss Bullet.
Yes, go ahead.
So I know the next one, project, sorry, well, project, yeah, is due, that's next week, Tuesday, right? So when a person sends it to you before Tuesday, do you like read it and give them feedback and able to send it to you again before Tuesday? Like, I mean.
No, you send one for grade and one for feedback. If you want feedback on another paper, yeah.
Also, it makes sense to send two. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, guys, so you'll have a productive week and see you next week. Julian, you are not sending me no Russian clients. Stop it. You're the investigator, mister. You need to deal with the Russian people. I have some Russian, we have a whole Russian portfolio. Where you think that $4 billion is? We have some of that. We have some of that. All right, you'll take care. See you all next week.
Good night. Good evening.
Okay, good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Hi, Boo.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.